What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and in continuing my series of Disney movie reviews, I'm here to let you know that The Princess and the Frog is no perfect movie. It takes place in New Orleans during Mardi Gras season, and it's about a waitress named Tiana who dreams of owning her own restaurant. But on the most important night of her life, she comes across Prince Naveen, who has been turned into a frog by a witch doctor, and begs her to kiss him to break the spell using the Frog Prince logic. But because she's not a princess, she's just wearing a fancy costume. When she kisses him, she turns into a frog too. And it becomes a race against time in order to change themselves back and prevent this witch doctor, the Shadow Man, from taking over New Orleans. And you know what? This movie was one of the reasons I wanted to do this Disney series in the first place. I hadn't seen it yet, but I heard about how this was supposed to be one of the movies to really keep Disney making 2D animated films for the big screen. The original goal was for them to put out at least one hand-drawn film every couple years. First, The Princess and the Frog, then the 2011 Winnie the Pooh, and then The Snow Queen. But because this was only a modest hit, because Winnie the Pooh was not a hit at all, and because it was somehow too complicated to make the Snow Queen in hand-drawn, so they turned it to CG and it became Frozen, that plan went down the tube. And as with the 2011 Winnie the Pooh, it really comes down to other competing factors as opposed to just being a hand-drawn animated film. Not only did this movie came out the weekend before Avatar, but the film's marketing team did warn them not to put princess or prince in the title because audiences would be picky and assume that it's for little girls and that it supposedly wouldn't make any money. Which is interesting, considering Disney still makes movies about princesses for little girls, and it makes a shit ton of money. But they didn't listen. They felt that the hard work they put into it to making a good film would be what got everybody in the theaters to see it. I like that logic, and I would have said the exact same thing too. And it's a damn shame, because out of the movies that I've seen so far, this is one of the best Disney movies that I've ever seen. The animation coming from the two directors, Ron Clements and John Musker, who also directed Aladdin and The Little Mermaid, among many others, of course the animation is going to look gorgeous. It's going to have that old-fashioned Disney Renaissance feel to it, and I feel weird about it saying it's old-fashioned, but unfortunately that's the place we're in. It has the exact same look in regards to how polished and clean the designs are and how vibrant the colors are to look at on screen. The characters all move at a fast and fluid pace that makes you believe that they're living, breathing human beings that you're watching on screen. And like most older Disney classics, this movie's even not afraid to show off some darker, more unsettling imagery, and it all comes together with some really creatively creepy voodoo set pieces, some living, breathing voodoo dolls, shadows that have minds of their own, a shrunken head at one point. It all looked really good, despite the fact that it was unnerving to look at. And you know something? The relationship between the princess and the frog was legitimately genuine, because the two of these characters were already interesting and likable on their own, but together they learned things about each other that they never really either knew or just wouldn't admit to themselves. Anika Noni Rose as Tiana is probably my favorite Disney princess so far because she works her ass off to get wherever she feels she needs to be and believes that is the only way you can get that far in life. And I agree with that philosophy. But when she has to rely on and connect with Naveen at certain points, she does realize something that her mom tells her over and over again, but she really didn't listen to. You can strive and achieve great accomplishments, but those accomplishments aren't really going to mean that much if you don't have people to share with and enjoy those accomplishments with. And as cliched as it is to have a dead parent be the key motivator, they do at least show the relationship between Tiana and her father, Terrence Howard, how he didn't get as far in life as he hoped he would, but he had people in life who loved him, who wanted to share their experiences with him, and that was more than worth it for him. And deep down, she may not realize it, but that's what Tiana really wants in life. And as for Naveen, who's played very well by Bruno Campos, he is spoiled and lazy and doesn't really take responsibility for his actions because in his mind, life's always a party. But when it comes down to it, the way he was raised, was a way in which everyone did everything for him and he had nobody to teach him basic chores, which does make me wonder where his parents were before they decided to cut him off. Maybe they were making up for their past mistakes. I don't know. They don't speak in the movie, but he doesn't have anyone to teach him basic chores until he meets Tiana, and when she's patient enough to teach him basic things, he feels a lot more confident about himself and believes that he can actually, for once, take charge of his own life. And of course, as expected with a Disney movie, the music is in top form. The fact that this story takes place in New Orleans during Mardi Gras makes for some really good jazz numbers, and Randy Newman comes up with probably 3 of his best songs. When We're Human has a really fast-paced rhythm to the way that the music's composed and the way the actors sing their lines. Friends on the Other Side is a surprisingly welcoming villain song that really shows you how the Shadow Man ropes his targets in. And as his plan gets set into motion in different stages, the music actually changes tempo along with it, and it keeps you on the edge of your seat. But for me personally, my favorite song for sure was Almost There. It's another great I Want song. Rose did a fantastic job singing it and bringing this new energy to an already good song. And the song itself also highlights her basic goals, how she is hardworking and independent, and how that can be a really disadvantage to her life. Now, the side characters are all right on their own, but in a weird way, I felt like they overshadowed the villain and his presence because I was really looking forward to seeing the Shadow Man, and I really enjoyed him as a villain. Keith David has this slimy but still deep voice to him. He's really good at manipulating people when he can't rely on magic, and the fact that he's a witch doctor allows for some creepy imagery involving voodoo magic, but outside of his intro song and the finale, and I do like the way that they portray his motivation through visuals when he's looking at rich people and just looking at them with spite and contempt. That was a subtle feature that I don't think people really pick up on. Outside of those 3 moments, he doesn't really get a ton to do other than to explain to a henchman the things that he can't do in regards to his magic. But as for the side characters, Louis the Alligator was the rare comic relief that I thought was absolutely hilarious. The voice actor did a really good job. I loved the neurotic charm and the passion he brought to this character. You really believe that this character has a dream of being a jazz musician despite his appearance. But outside of him, the other characters just seem like standard Disney side characters. Ray the Lightning Bug, I didn't understand why he was in the movie. He wasn't annoying or anything, but I didn't feel like his presence really solved that many things that the characters already couldn't do. Tiana's best friend, this rich debutante or whatever, she was kind of hit and miss with me. Some of her jokes were really good, but some of them were really obnoxious. She's also a very unintentionally selfish character that didn't always mesh with me. And there's this other witch doctor played by Jenifer Lewis who was really just there to preach the message of the movie. Her song was really preachy. Her supposedly cryptic clues about the spell to the characters was pretty bland. I just sat there looking at her design and I'm like, this is Sugar Mama from Proud Family, except more preachy and less funny. In fact, I looked her up just to make sure if that was the same voice actress, but it turns out Jenifer Lewis actually played Sugar Mama's evil sister in that one episode. That was one of the best episodes. I like that. But outside of that, The Princess and the Frog was one of the best Disney movies that I've ever seen. They knew that this could make or break the studio in regards to hand-drawn animation, and they threw all the effort that they could in regards to the animation, the music, the voice acting, the characters, the story. And it all made for a great film. If you haven't seen The Princess and the Frog, do not listen to the title. Just watch it. If you love old-fashioned Disney movies, if you love Disney Renaissance movies, you are going to have, at the very least, a good time. And for all those reasons, I'm going to give The Princess and the Frog a 4.5 out of 5. Do check it out if you have Disney+. Guys, thanks as always for watching. If you have seen The Princess and the Frog, let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Be sure to stay tuned for more Disney reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.